Hudson River Bike Path, thousands of people use it, and not just New Yorkers, not just people from Manhattan. It is the major way people from New Jersey who like to bicycle to work to their jobs in New York City will come into Manhattan. They go over the GW Bridge and they come down along the Hudson River. And it's such a wonderful way to start the day. It's so efficient. It's certainly less expensive than any other method of getting into New York City. And it has that smaller footprint. It conserves the space that we have and allows you to enjoy this beautiful parkland on your way into work. Why is it managed so poorly, as if the park administrators in Riverside Park, who own and manage the lion's share of the Hudson River bike path, are putting cyclists and pedestrians at odds? And there's so many ways that they do it. They have this stretch here called Cherry Walk that runs from approximately 100th Street up to 125th Street, where the traffic crosses over. Instead of a traditional traffic path where everyone keeps right and follows their direction of travel, bikes, runners, and cyclists and scooter operators and everyone else, they change it over here because it's more narrow. Cyclists who are used to riding around in a bunch of different types of bike infrastructure know that when it's a device used by transportation planners, if you don't have enough lateral clearance, what you're going to do is create two flows of traffic. One on one side, which is pedestrians, bidirectional, and the other on the other side, which is cyclists, bidirectional. That way, the danger created by the interface of faster and slower moving flows of traffic is minimized down to a single interface of fast moving cyclists on one side of the street, north and south, and slower moving runners and pedestrians on the other side of the path, north and south. That's why there's a setup like this where more space is devoted to cyclists where it's needed and somewhat less space to pedestrians. And it would function if only the people in charge of this path would advise people what the rules are, right? Everyone has to be on the same page. Traffic rules work if everyone's on the same page and know what the rules are. But if you let the paint fade, if you let vandals and others knock the tops off the signs so there's no explanation whatsoever of what the traffic pattern is, and then you go through successive stages, each a mile or two long, of the greenway where the traffic pattern switches back and forth, back and forth. Oh, am I supposed to keep left? Oh, am I supposed to keep right? People yelling and screaming at each other, keep right, get out of here, you're in the wrong place. The people who used to know when the signs and the paint were clear and still up, follow those rules because they're the old timers. New people move to New York, they don't see the signs and the paint because they faded, and why is everybody doing it this way? Why are people keeping left instead of keeping right? What is this, England? The only way I can explain it is that the people in charge of this park just don't care, or they're trying to foment conflict. And let me tell you, I have been to community meetings where I've seen the representative of the Riverside Park Conservancy. His name is John Harold, and he does not believe a transportation facility belongs in Riverside Park. He is angry that we would like to see something as simple as a line up the middle of the path to delineate flows of traffic, directions of traffic, modes of traffic, what have you, because he thinks it ruins the park-like environment, and he thinks the idea of a transportation corridor in a park is anathema to what he's trying to create. Well, I can appreciate the idea that there's a tension between the two, but it's a challenge. And the fact is, we don't have enough public space in the city after giving over the lion's share of it to motor vehicles to be able to say, well, no, we can't have non-motorized transport in our parks either. We're going to stick cyclists with motorists because our parks are only going to be for, non-transportation, non-utility uses. That doesn't make any sense, and that in fact is not the mission of the Parks Department. The Parks Department in New York City is host to the Greenway system, which can take you through all 5 boroughs, and is an absolutely amazing transportation and recreational facility. People use it in all kinds of different ways. And to have one parks administrator for one park say, well, I don't want to be part of a citywide transportation network and multi-use pass system. I think that my park should just be for more passive uses, and I don't want to see traffic devices like lines up the middle of the pathway, because that uglifies the park and it makes people feel entitled, and it makes people act as if they can go as fast as they want in their delineated zone of the pathway. Well, I'm sorry, but the flip side of that is that you're deliberately sowing confusion about where people can go and what speed they can travel at. You're deliberately creating conflicts, and I've seen John Harold come to community meetings and talk about how the pedestrians are cowed because they don't know, the cyclists are so unpredictable. They'd be predictable if you gave predictable places for people to be. It is the planner's fault. So much of the confusion and conflict that goes on in these pathways, not the people who are using them. In so many ways, we are just rats in a maze that are designed by people like John Harold, and it's time for them to stop it and take their responsibility to create alternative transportation corridors seriously, even when they're in the parks.